the Tower of the Hidden Realm out to use. It just seemed very on point, especially with like the first part of October, which is going to be shadow worky, which is very on point actually for October anyway. Hi, I can see people in the chat. Hello, hello. Oh, my chair's a bit creaky, sorry about that. So yes, October. Interesting. And like I said, shadow worky, and I've been thinking a lot about like what the main themes are for October. And like, yes, we are in eclipse season still, so definitely like kind of eclipsey things are in the we're going to be dealing with those eclipsey things. And also Venus is going into Scorpio. I like beginning of next week, tomorrow maybe, or Monday, soon. Venus is going to be going to Scorpio, and that is going to be when Venus goes into Scorpio. Then she's going to be forming a grand water trine with the two malefics, with Saturn and with Mars. Sorry, my words are just disappearing today. With Saturn and with Mars, and I think that's really interesting because, like, it's kind of tense for Venus, but I'm really channeling that whole kind of Inanna thing. That is the vibe that I'm going for, is like Venus has set her ear on the great below, and she has realized that the kind of superficial niceties of her life are not actually the full truth of what is going on. And so as we go into October, Venus is guiding us on a shadow journey. We're going to go down to the great below, and we are going to just take away all of the stuff that is no longer, well, that we think gives us our status, that we think gives us our power, and we're going to remove until we get to see the kind of bare truth of ourselves face to face. And there will be a transformation available. So we're working with Ariadne in the Moonwise membership. I know there's lots of Moonwise members here in the chat, and like that whole, it's also like, I know you could see it as a labyrinth journey as well, you know. So in the first part of October, as we spiral into the center of the labyrinth while Venus is in Scorpio, and then when Venus goes into Sagittarius, which is on the 17th, so almost like exactly halfway through the month, Venus goes into Sagittarius, and then instead of being configured with the malefics, Venus is then in an opposition with Jupiter. So it's a different vibe, and we turn around, we face our beast, you know, we faced our beast, we face the Minotaur, and then we turn around and we weave our way back out of the labyrinth. So yeah, I like, for me, that is the kind of overarching story of October. And yes, like I said, there's definitely eclipse stuff going on as well. We're already in that eclipse portal. We've had a kind of like preview of the Virgo Pisces axis eclipses with our Pisces full moon eclipse that we just had. And the portal window is opened, but that was more like a kind of preview of the eclipses that are going to be coming next year. Whereas the next eclipse that is coming up at the beginning of October, on the 2nd of October, is a solar eclipse, it's a south node eclipse. And that is going to be an opportunity to really like tie up the unfinished business. We're going to have a chance to kind of finish our unfinished business, and like I said, it's going to be part of that kind of peeling away and really getting to the core of who we are, so that we're able to form effective relationships with other people from a place of understanding ourselves. Because when we try to connect with other people when we haven't fully understood ourselves, and it's hard to say fully understood, isn't it? Because like, however much inner work we do, there's always new things to discover, and like we do change as well, you know. It's like, oh, that wasn't something that resonated with me before, but now it is. So yeah, maybe not fully, you know, we don't have to be like fully enlightened beings before we can form relationships with other people, of course not. And in fact, there's so much learning in forming relationships with other people as a way of learning about ourselves as well. And that is what this whole eclipse thing between like Aries, which is all about the kind of the self, and then Libra, which is all about the other. When we've been having these eclipses through in that axis, we've been learning about ourselves, learning about who we are in relation to the other, learning about the other as well. Sometimes like we've been learning information about or having information revealed through the eclipses about our partnerships as well. And then it's like this month is what do we do? What do we do with that information? And it's not the last eclipse on that axis. There is still an eclipse to come, next eclipse season in next year in 2025. That sounds really weird to say 2025, like as if it's coming up really soon, which it kind of is. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I feel like I just kind of swooped in and said a load of stuff. So I'm going to sort of say hi and have a look who's here. Hello, hello. Hey Mimi, hey Shah, hey Tanya, hey Megan, hey Liz. Brilliant. Honeycomb's out. Yeah, my honeycombs are ready as well. I love the honeycomb. You don't need a honeycomb if you are just kind of following the mundane transits. But what's so beautiful about the honeycomb is how it combines our own personal transits with the mundane transits, so we can really see how those things are overlapping, which is really cool. On that note as well, I do have an astrology course coming up, which I can see a few of you here have already signed up for the course as well. And it's going to be a real deep dive into the natal chart. I know there are loads of astrology courses about the natal chart, but I've taken loads of them. I dread to think how much money I've spent on astrology learning over the 30 years that I've been studying it now. And they all do some stuff really well. Like they're usually really good on like what the planets are, what the aspects are, aspects not so much, but planets, signs and houses usually is really good, really solid. And then aspects sometimes is really good. And like everyone brings their own little extra flavor of something. So like I've never regretted, I don't think, doing any of the astrology training that I've done. I have sometimes thought I already know this sometimes, with some of the courses, but there's usually something that teacher will say that I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about that way before. So I always think it's really valuable. But what I want to do to make this course really different is that we'll kind of speed run some of that stuff that is the stuff that you can kind of learn from lots of other places. And we're going to go really focused in on the synthesis, on the bringing it all together and what that actually means for us, because what is the point otherwise of knowing all this stuff if it's not practical, if it's not useful? So we want to be able to use our charts as a blueprint for our lives, as like a map for our lives. And also, I'm hoping we're going to get onto this. I don't know how long yet this course is going to go for because it is a beta run. We're going to kind of feel our way along as we do it, and we're going to keep going basically until everyone feels that they have received what they came for, basically. And so goodness knows, hopefully it won't be too long. I'm thinking about probably February next year, but we will see. We are going to take a little break over the holidays as well for people to kind of assimilate and things like that. But I want to also get onto kind of the more meta level stuff where we can start to work with the stuff that's in our charts. And remediation is a thing, basically. So if there are things in our charts which are not ideal, then we can do things about that. And I actually think that's a really potent way to work with the chart and a really exciting and fun way to work with the chart as well. So that is going to be something cool that we're going to do a bit later on. Yeah. Yeah, the honeycomb is brilliant. Thanks, Tempest. Yay. I'm just trying to see if I can see the chat just zoop past me. Yeah, so I'm going to try, I know I'm not generally that concise, but I'm going to try and be kind of concise and kind of get the main. It's not as there was a lot of stuff last time, and this time is more focused, I think, of what is going on. So I'm going to try and get through the astrology fairly quickly and then get on to talking about the tarot. I've actually booked to go and see an ice hockey match after I've done this forecast. It's like 8 minutes past 4 for me in the UK here now, and I've never been to an ice hockey match before, but my son really, really wanted to go to one, so we are going to see that. And basically I need to whisk out the door as soon as I have finished doing this. So yeah, that's fun. So I'm going to try and keep on target with this. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, I it. Obviously it's not such a big thing here, I think, as it is in certain other countries. I think in Canada it's much more popular, but here in Wales we do have one, maybe two teams actually. But the team that's fairly close to us in Cardiff is actually one of the better teams that competes with people good teams in England and things like that as well. So I have no idea who we're playing against. But we're just gonna go and have a fun time and see what happens. So yeah, if I start to ramble, tell me and I will I'll get back onto target. So let's talk a little bit more about that Venus in Scorpio and what that means. So at the moment, Venus is in Libra, and Venus is at home in Libra, which means she's like in her own house, she's in her own kingdom, and she has all of her own stuff. You know, like what it's like when you're at home in your own place and you've got all your stuff around you. You know where everything is. If you want to cook something, you know where everything's kept. You know, if you want to like do some craft or something, you know where all the stuff is. Brilliant, you know. So Venus can have, and she can have it arranged exactly how she wants because it's her house, you know. So she's got it set up to her like high aesthetic standard. And then when Venus goes into Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars, it's like she's gone on holiday and staying in like a place that is owned by somebody who does not just doesn't have the same aesthetic sense that Venus has. Venus is in detriment in Scorpio. It is opposite her other sign of Taurus. So when she goes there, she doesn't know where anything is. It's all like confusing. It doesn't like look how she wants it to look. It doesn't feel how she wants it to feel. But, and this is what's really powerful about this particular October transit of Venus going into Scorpio. It's an opportunity for Venus, who, you know, can sometimes tend a little bit more towards the superficial side of things. Like, that's not true. That's like a kind of shadow aspect of Venus, really, that sometimes there can be that kind of superficiality there. It's an opportunity for Venus to really like go deep into that scorpionic realm, which is the realm of those really deep felt emotions. And so rather than focusing like on the surface level, it's almost as if Venus is plunging down into the depths, into this, you know, beneath the surface, and kind of, you know, like what it's like when you're in the sea and everything's kind of murky, and you know, it's hard to kind of really grasp onto things. And so it's this weird watery realm that Venus is entering. She doesn't feel very comfortable there, but she knows that it is important for her to go there so that she can learn, about those like Mars values as well, like the kind of so she can cut away anything that is not serving her anymore, and so that she can find the courage, find the like the fire, the will to bring what is important to her forward as she moves on into Sagittarius, you know, later on in the month. So yeah, I think that is a really powerful transit that's happening. And like I said, it's happening, I'm pretty sure it's Monday, I think it's the 29th, that Venus is going into Scorpio. I'm gonna start trying to make some little astrology reels and shorts. So maybe I'll make one like that about Venus, but not today because I'm gonna have to go to the hockey. So maybe later when I come home. But I want to do some like kind of little bite size things like that as well. I know maybe says more cutting away. I know. That's the thing though, isn't it? Like with inner work, is that we do it. And we do get some seasons where it's just like, oh yeah, this is nicer, this is easier. And that will be coming later on in October as well. Although like the signature for the moon with the new moon, with the eclipse, is going to be kind of continuing for the whole of October. The eclipse is on the 2nd of October. And so that starts our new moon cycle. And that moon cycle is going to last until the next moon, which is at the beginning of November. So for the whole of October is basically got that signature. But when Venus moves on into Sagittarius, that is going to change the vibe a lot. So that Venus in Scorpio is really interesting in itself, but then we've also got that configuration to Mars and Saturn. So Mars is in Cancer. So, you know, we talked about how Venus is at home in Libra and then not at home in Scorpio. Mars is not at home in Cancer. It's like the thing that just came into my head. I don't know if you've seen this movie. It's an old movie called Kindergarten Cop. It was like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he is, I think he's like an undercover police officer, and he has to go and be like a kindergarten teacher. And it's like you've got this big, like strong, manly guy, and then he has to like go into this role of being like a nurturing, you know, in this realm of like nurturing and supportive, and be like oh no, an ad, that's weird. I think that the YouTube have set up the lives now so that you kind of have to have ads in them. So yeah, that's annoying. But yeah, hopefully it shouldn't like cut stuff out though. It should just bring you back into where you are. But I suppose because it's live. So yeah, I don't know what that's all about. Sorry about that. So yeah, the Mars in that nurturing sign of Cancer. Like Cancer is all about home, safety, protection, like that sort of real love, like kind of ancestral love, that love that you have for your family, that love that you have for or you should have, that love that you have for the people that you care about that mean a lot to you. So this kind of like Mars soldier or like police officer comes into this more kind of like kindergarten-y, caring environment, nurturing environment, teaching as well, you know. Like Cancer is cardinal water. Oh, sorry, Saturn. Yeah, I don't know what that is all about. That wasn't happening last time we did the live, but I definitely didn't put any different settings on, so I don't know what that is all about. So that is not fun for Mars, usually. But if you did see that movie, you'll know that by the end of the movie, he figures it out. And he figures out a way to bring his strengths into that environment, and also the environment also works its magic on him as well, and he becomes more nurturing and more protective in the yeah, I don't think it gave me the option of ads mid-roll, off or on anyway. Sorry, I'm just gonna take a little sip of water. Yeah, that's annoying. I'm sorry about that. I'll have to have a look next time I do a live. I'll see if I can go into the settings. I think they change things, and then you think that it's all set up the way it always is, but then they've changed something, you have to click something else. So surely there'll be a way of like figuring it out. So I'll have a look. So yeah, we've got that Mars in Cancer, which is like happening for a long time, a really long time actually, because Mars is also slowing down in Cancer, and it's going to go into Leo, but when it gets into Leo, it's only going to hang around there for a little while and then come back into Cancer. So basically until like, I think it's June next year, we've got this like Mars in Cancer, a little bit of Mars in Leo, back to Mars in Cancer energy. So that kind of kindergarten cop energy is around for a really long time. Yeah, thanks, Darren. Oh. So we'll get comfy with that Mars in Cancer energy, and I think it's a really good kind of shake up for us as well, to kind of bring up those ideas of like how we do nurture, how we do care for the people around us, you know, how we do protect the people that we care about as well, how we do protect our home even as well. Like it would be a really good time to start looking into things like home protection, you know, and like in a magical and a mundane way, you know. So like you could look at like if you've got like a windows that don't lock or something like that, and you think, oh, that doesn't seem that safe, or something, like it might be. We never lock our windows, but you know, or something that's just like broken and someone could get in, then you could get that fixed. But then you could also be thinking about things like warding and home protection and stuff like that for that period of time when Mars is in Cancer. It's bringing that kind of protective but also strategic energy into those kind of realms of our lives as well. And obviously like where your particular Cancer house will influence that for you. So like for me, I have Cancer is my 10th house. So that's related to like kind of like my calling, what I'm here to do, my purpose, and like my midheaven is in that house for me as well. So with Mars there, it's asking me to be more courageous as well in those areas, you know. So like say you had it in your 7th house, let's say Cancer was your 7th house and Mars is going through there, then perhaps you're going to be more courageous in that area of relationships. Perhaps you will take the first step towards asking somebody that you're interested in to go out or something like that, you know. We can bring, even though Mars is not like, doesn't love being in that environment, there is definitely, like in that movie, ways in which these things can find a way to work together. And that is what our job is as witches, you know, is we find these ways and we're like, okay, that is the energy that's going on. Let's find how I can best utilize that, how I can work with that. We work with what we got. Yeah. Michelle says, yeah, I wish I would have loved to have a teacher like that, being able to carry. Yeah, I remember that scene where he's like carrying loads of them. I'd forgotten about that. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, so that Mars in Cancer is making a trine to Venus, who is in Mars's sign of Scorpio. So we've got those two water signs being linked up by those two planets who have got very kind of like opposing natures. And you probably noticed that Venus is in Mars's sign. So we've got that connection between those. And a trine is means that the energy can flow between them quite nicely. So we've got the communication, the kind of it's as if they can communicate well with each other as well. So those two things, even though they're kind of not in their own home environments, are able to communicate well. So that energy can flow quite well between that. And I'm feeling like that's a really, it's quite exciting, I think, you know, like it's helping us to do some of the work that is kind of hard to do, basically. And then we've also got Saturn in Pisces. Now, Saturn has been in Pisces since last year. I feel like I've talked about this so long now, so many times. Liz normally says exactly when Saturn went into Pisces, because I just seem to have a mental blank on it. But it's been a long time. And it's like Saturn in Pisces is just, again, unhappy. It's not as unhappy as like Mars and Venus, because they're actually like in detriment in their in like traditional astrology terms. But like Saturn's energy is very much one of wanting to kind of consolidate, to construct, to make sense out of things, to plan, to do things slowly. And then Pisces is much more about like just blending and merging and sort of seeing the bigger picture. Whereas Saturn is like, I want to see all individual parts of the picture, kind of thing. So it's Saturn is also in a water sign in Pisces, so we've got that watery energy flowing between those three signs. And if those three signs are, you know, like if one of those is your sun, moon, or rising, so that's Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. If that's your sun, moon, or rising, then you're going to definitely be feeling more of that, like those three planets in those signs doing the business. Yeah. Vin Diesel in The Pacifier is also Mars in Cancer. So I haven't seen that movie, but is that the same sort of, I think it's like, it's one of those things that works in movies when you put like, especially when it's like kind of big buff guys into like these more nurturing environments, that and then kind of see what happens. Like it's just like a good setup. And like we also see the other setup a lot, don't you, when you see like when you take like a kind of like a woman who's like supposed to be all demure and everything, and then you put her into like a more kick-ass type environment and see what happens, you know. It's like trying to see how these things are going to play out. And like there's obviously loads of problems with that whole stereotype. But it is interesting when we're thinking about the planets in those ways. So shall I say Alice, Pisces sun, Libra moon, Cancer rising. Yeah, brilliant. So you've got that Pisces sun, especially that Cancer rising, is going to be being affected by that. And like I said, the Cancer rising with Mars being there for such a long period of time, that's going to be an interesting one as well. I know there's other Cancer risings here as well. Scorpio going on an adventure. So the next lunar eclipse will be stronger than the full moon partial we had. Yeah. Okay, so the last eclipse we had was a Pisces full moon eclipse, and it was only an eclipse. Like eclipses, it's an eclipse when we have the sun and the moon either together or directly opposite each other within 15 degrees of the nodes. And like, don't worry if that's like, don't worry about that. But basically, the kind of closer that the sun and moon get together or opposite each other to the nodes, the more eclipse they are, because the eclipse is like the point where they pass each other. So they actually kind of go closer to each other and are able to block each other out, which is what makes the eclipse for us. So the last eclipse we had was a very wide orb from the nodes. It was still an eclipse, but it is most definitely like it's not weaker. That's like that's a strange sort of concept of it. It was just different, and it was, you know, it wasn't yeah, it was different as well from these ones that we've been having, because the ones that we've been having have been on this Aries Libra axis, and I think it just felt different because it was a Pisces eclipse, you know. So it's like, oh, okay, it's whole different eclipse energy coming in, and like we will have more opportunities to experience that eclipse energy next year. But it's not so much that it's like weaker. Like this is more more eclipsed, this one that's coming up, because it's much closer to the nodes. I think it's only like a few degrees I think it might be the nodes are like 7 and the sun and moon are at 10. So it's like 3 degrees away as opposed to like 12 degrees away or whatever the last one was. You know, it is much closer, but I think it's more the themes, you know, because we've been working on these themes and we're trying to kind of bring some closure into those. So yeah, that whole signature, that grand water trine, which is happening for the first half of the month until Venus moves on into Sagittarius, that is like in play. So we've got Mars and Venus and Saturn communicating with each other. So it's asking us about things like spirituality, about structuring our spirituality as well, our spiritual practices, our day-to-day practices, and how perhaps they can support us in nurturing and also going beneath the surface and figuring out what is really kind of like true for us now. North Node is at 6 Aries. Okay, 6. So, and I'm pretty sure the moon, the new moon is happening at 10. So it's 4 degrees away. Yeah. I'm grabbing another little sip of water. I've been so thirsty, and I think we talked about this over in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, you should come and join us in the Discord. It's so fun. There's like loads of different channels to chat in and everything, and yeah, I love it. Even though I'm not super chatty, I like to read and put little emojis on things. There should be, I hope, a link to the Discord in the description, but there might not be. I don't know, remember if I've updated that or not. So yeah, that signature is ongoing, you know, for this first part of the month, and it gets really close around the time of the eclipse because they are like almost exactly in a perfect trine at that time. But yeah, that energy is flowing around us. So that is one of the huge things about the first part of October. We've obviously got the eclipse as well, which is going to be amplifying that energy. I'll make a separate video about the eclipse energy as well, you know, like one of the ones that I make chatting about it with the honeycomb and everything like that. So I'll do one like that and pull a card as well for the next cycle, which that will probably be coming up fairly soonish as well, because it's not that long until we're into that next cycle. It seems to all be coming really quickly now at the end of the year. And then it's interesting because the full moon on the 17th is the same day that Venus moves from Scorpio into Sagittarius, and we get that shift in energy happening. So the full moon, which is a full Aries moon, so the moon is ruled by Mars this time, Mars in Cancer. And so yeah, it's not an eclipse. And to be honest, the full moon that we have after eclipse, or any lunation that we have after eclipse season, usually feels like, oh, okay, nice. This is more sort of straightforward in a way, or more like I can do more with this. Sometimes with eclipses, it can feel a little bit more like fated somehow, a little bit more like sort of powers beyond our control, whereas usually it's much more things that we can work with, you know. More prepared for less crazy kids. Yeah, okay, so the Pisces, yes, I mean Pisces full moons in general can be, they make us lose, they don't make us, they mirror us as we start to dissolve our own boundaries. And so things like kids being crazy, or you know, pets being crazy, or just people in general being crazy around the full moons, for Pisces full moons is even more so, because we want to like just merge with the one, and so our boundaries tend to be really porous at this time. And yeah, it's a whole different energy. I'm quite looking forward to it, actually, that Virgo Pisces energy of the eclipses next year. So yeah. Someone says also autumn is associated with air and the throat and heart. Yeah, exactly. And I really think that it's Jupiter, because Jupiter's like stationing. When does Jupiter go retrograde? On the 9th of October. So Jupiter is already really slowing down now. And I think when planets station, they tend to be like more, it's like their energy is kind of amplified while they're slowing down, because they're like kind of holding their ground. And so yeah, I think that is what is triggering the thirstiness. I've also noticed quite a few people having like dry mucous membranes in general, kind of like sort of stuffed up noses and things like that as well. Which yeah, you know, that's also autumnal in the well, I suppose we're not properly in the, I was gonna say into the Chinese like kind of 5 element system, but we're still like would be in like late summer for that. Yeah. But yeah, interesting. It's interesting to kind of notice these things in the context of like what is going on. And that's a really cool thing to do with the astrology in general, is to be like, oh, everyone around me has got colds at the moment, or like everyone, and like obviously with some things is germs. So everyone's catching the same stuff. But like it's weird when you start to notice things, like especially around eclipses, lots of people tend to have problems with their eyes as well. So it's like, you know, you will notice that people around you are having these things happen. And they, like when you get a lot of Pisces activations, like we have been having, people will start to have like foot issues, you know? And so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, interesting. And Mars in Cancer, like Cancer is associated with the womb and with the breast, you know, with those kind of like nurturing, also like with the skin and with our mucous membranes in general, with our like kind of the moist places in our bodies. So like Mars is like kind of hot and dry, and so that can tend to we'll see that parallel with that, with people having like dry mucous membranes, dry eyes, like stuffy noses and things like that as well. So yeah, there's a few different signatures for that kind of stuff going on. It's interesting. Temper says, now looking forward to it with the Pisces. Oh yes, yes, you get to kind of see that now with a whole different like vibe, because it's like, oh, okay, this is actually really like a kind of guiding place for me, you know? So yeah, that's really cool. Drinking more water, yeah, never a bad thing. I've been really like needing to, though, rather than kind of being like, oh, I need to drink more water. It's like, I need to drink some water. So yeah, so that's like kind of the first part of the month. And like I said, we have the full moon, that kind of changes the vibe. Venus moves into Sagittarius. We have the full moon in Aries. So we've got an Aries full moon, which is a fire moon. Although the ruler of it is in Cancer, so we've got that water energy still kind of coming back in, but that kind of like hot, steamy water energy coming in. And we've also got then Venus moving to Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, opposing the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter then, which is like the two benefics, but they're like opposing each other. And so I feel like that's better than having the two malefics opposing each other, but it's still going to be like just kind of like a bit weird energy, because Venus is in that kind of fiery sign. She's going to want to like explore and do some really cool things with the stuff that she's been like, that she's learned in her time in Scorpio. So it's like, you know, like when you do the inner work and you just find that it's like you have a realization, and it's like, that's the truth about me. I didn't know that was the truth, and now that has been revealed to me. That is going to be happening a lot at the beginning of October, and then in the second part of October, taking those like realizations and actually like wanting to find out more, to explore, to do those kind of like Sagittarius stuff of like finding the truth in things, and also like just like exploring in general, and like physically as well, like going places and stuff like that as well. It's kind of nice, but it is very like high energy, I suppose, the second part of the month. The first part is going to be more like withdrawn, and then the second part is like woohoo, you know, it's really, especially with Jupiter stationing as well. Like I said, Jupiter stations retrograde on the 9th, so it's going to be, Venus is going to be opposing like a retrograde Jupiter from Jupiter's sign. So yeah, interesting. Kind of magnifying the fire and air energy. And we know when we get like fire and air together, like the air kind of feeds the fire as well. So yeah, it's yeah, that does. It's funny when you have realizations about your chart like that. It's like, oh yeah, makes such sense. Yeah. Simon says, as a Scorpio, I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Yeah, and like also like influencing how it all plays out as well, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we do this. You know, we can work with this energy. So we're not like, the equinox is tomorrow. The sun will be moving into Libra. So we're going to have the sun and Libra together for a little while as well, but not very long. And that whole kind of like Venusian energy of the sun in Libra's time that we're going to get at like the first part of October, it's got that air energy, but the sun is also going to be like kind of strengthening Venus while Venus is doing that underworld work. So what I'm taking from that is that we should be definitely like making sure we're resourced, making sure that we've got plenty of like those sun things happening for us, like making sure that we've got plenty of opportunity to play if we can, to create, to like charge ourselves up as well. Because like when we are doing deep work, we need that. Like if we think of Venus being under the water in the scorpionic realm, she needs like a pipeline of air, and that sun in Libra is feeding her that air so that she can stay down there and do the work that she needs to do, you know. So as long as we keep feeding that sun, and like that is tricky to do, I find sometimes around the equinox, because you really, like, we can already notice, I'm already noticing here in Wales that the nights are already drawing in quite significantly. So it's like, oh, we just want to cling on to that last, like the last drops of sunshine that we are getting. But it's important for us to stoke that sun, even if like the physical sun isn't around as much, to stoke that sun within ourselves by feeding our sun. So like, where's your sun in your chart? Where is your sun, and what does your sun need? You know, because like if you're a sun in, like if you're naturally a sun in Libra, then you probably like to have everything in moderation, you know, that's what feeds you. Like really oversimplifying it. Or like if you've got your sun in, I don't know, like Virgo, then having everything organized will be what helps you to feel your core self, you know, feel joyful at your core self. Yeah, so just have a little think on that, like maybe share in the chat as well, like where's your sun and what can you do to like feed that sun. Like if your sun's in Leo, then you know you need to be seen. You need to be seen, maybe not like on a global stage, but you do need to be seen to be able to fill your own kind of sun cup. You also need to create as well, you know. So yeah, that energy is all around. But then like I said, there's this shift, because on the 22nd of October, that's when the sun then goes into Scorpio. So Venus has left Scorpio and gone on to Sagittarius, but then a few days later the sun goes into the Scorpio. So into the Scorpio, that sounds so weird. Sun goes into Scorpio. And so the sun is kind of like shining a light then on that Venus underworld journey that has just happened. So yeah, I suppose what I feel like the overarching theme of it is like the first part of the month up until the full moon and up until like the sun moving into Scorpio is about the deep exploration work and stripping things away. And then the second part of the month is more about like the kind of joyful exploration, the questing, the what do we do now that we've known this. And like I said right at the start, is that it is that kind of turning point of the labyrinth. That's a really good metaphor for this, because like the first part, we're winding our way into the center of the labyrinth, we face the beast, and then we wind our way back out, and like the world is then different for us when we come back out. So yeah, and like we're heading into spooky season, which is always fun for witchy type people. What's happening in the chat? Got seasonal sleepies already. Yeah, and it's nice to get cozy. Gemini sun, need to know all the things. That's brilliant for Gemini sun. Yes, Gemini needs ideas. Feed me ideas, and then we're happy and we're lit up. Sun in Aries. So sun in Aries, what does that need? It needs to, I think like sun in Aries needs inspiration. It's not just, and that's not quite the same thing as ideas. It needs inspiration, like insight, like to know the truth about things, but in a way that like can be immediately actioned. So sun in Aries also needs to actually physically move as well, which I know is difficult for you at the moment because you've got a broken foot, but it is, which is very Pisces as well, actually, which is interesting actually that happened to your foot and that you've just discovered that Pisces midheaven as well. Yeah. So yeah, you need, Aries like does initiate though as well, because you said about needing inputs, and it does need input. Like everybody needs input as well. Like none of us are kind of in a vacuum here, but as the cardinal signs need less input in a way, or they can kind of create their own input in some ways. Yeah, moving more, and it's great. I'm so glad about that. Yeah, that's going to make a really big difference, and maybe like moving in a different direction, like kind of metaphorically as well, which is kind of cool. Sun in Taurus. Okay, so Sun in Taurus, what would that need to feed? Like pottering in your garden, tidying up your garden, ready for the darker months of the year. Really nice warming food, a blanket and some candles. You know, it's really good. It's a really good exercise to, and like it'll be nuanced, obviously, depending on like the other stuff in our charts as well. It's not just as like clear cut as that, because there's other stuff going on. But if we think about it like that, like what does my sun need? And then we can think about, you know, like feeding our sun that. And then you can be like, what does my moon need? You know, and work your way through your different planets and placements like that. And it's really, yeah, it's great. It's a really good exercise to do. We will be doing some exercises like that in the astrology course. Be warned, they will be homework. I can't just resist doing it like that. We're going to be having like weekly sessions, but there will be some homework as well, which will be fun. I promise it'll be good. I just want it to be really like, so you're not memorizing anything, you're just assimilating it into your body, you know. It's like, I know this stuff now, I know this stuff. Yeah, so cool. Yes, Siren says Scorpio sun, need to understand the mysteries and all things deep, not superficial. Yes, Scorpio sun needs to know the truth behind the superficial. So we need to know what's beneath the surface. Tell me what's beneath the surface. And that's why things like watching like true crime dramas and things like that can sometimes feed a Scorpio sun. You know, you can sort of think, okay, so what would feed my sun? And like think around it like that, in that way. Yeah, fun. Marinating. Okay, so yeah, that is the kind of major things. Mars and Cancer I spoke about. Venus and Saturn generally in the water signs, making that, I feel like Saturn's influence is going to like strengthen, kind of give some substance to it as well, you know. It's not like Venus is just like flailing around in the water, like not knowing what's going on. It might feel like that at times, but that is not what's happening. With that grand water trine going on, there is definitely like some substance to be found there. It's going to be something transformative, you know. So yeah, that's exciting, I think. And I think that was it really for the astrology, which is good because it is 22/5. Let me get the cards back out. So these are the hidden realm. Yeah. And if you have got like weak planets in your chart, then figuring out how to feed them, and that's something that we're going to be doing on the course as well, you know, is we're going to be looking at, like I said, kind of remediation, how we can work with planets that are maybe not ideally placed or have difficult aspects to them, and find ways of bringing them in to our, so that we can use that energy, you know, we can utilize that energy. Like some people are lucky and they have lots of good easy things, and some people are unlucky and have lots of terrible things. But the vast majority, like 99% of the time, people have got a mixture of these kind of easier and more difficult things in their charts. So yeah, and that makes sense, I suppose, doesn't it? Because like we see people usually having a mixture of difficult and easy things in their lives. Okay, so this is getting me more excited for the course, even if I'm not great at homework. But marinating is a wonderful reframe. Yes, it's not about like worky homework. It is about exploratory, fun stuff. Yeah. Siren says, interestingly, because I'm a Scorpio cusp Libra, October Scorpio, I need things to be beautiful and inspirational as well. Yes. And oh my gosh, I'm losing cards. Hang on, one doesn't want to come. Got it. Right. And I know you don't know your exact birth time, but I think like you worked out with the Gemini rising as well. I think Gemini also, there's like a lightness to all of the air signs like that. They like things to be inspirational, definitely as well. Thanks, Siren. Okay. So I'm going to take 3 cards, I'm feeling like, for this. Let's go. Okay. Interesting. I'll show you them first and then we'll talk about them. So we've got the Ten of Wands, which is like this little all of the cards in this deck are kind of like a fairy realm, and the guidebook is lovely actually. And let me grab that. I will read what some of the stuff out of the guidebook for you as well, because usually it's written by Barbara Moore and I love her. That was one of the reasons why I bought the deck, because I really like her take on the different things. So in this Ten of Wands card, this little like pixie boy he's got this like fiery flames on him, which is, and he's also like holding, it looks like maybe like a, I don't know, like maybe like an amber or something, like an egg maybe even next to him like that. And it's making me think straight away of that, like that Mars in Cancer energy, where it's like when you're like out of your depth, but you're trying to protect something that's really precious of you, for you, and you're like, oh, I'm not quite sure how to do this. You know, the Ten of Wands energy can be, it's like when we're out of our depth, that's what it can feel like. It can feel like we've taken on too much responsibility or even too much inspiration sometimes. You know, we've said yes to too many things, and now it's like I'm out of my depth, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do with this energy. And so we've got that Ten of Wands, yeah, which is interesting. Then we've got the Three of Pentacles, and this is on this, it looks like somebody's making like a crafts person. There's this like an anvil in the background, so it looks like somebody who works with metal, a smith, which is instantly like bringing up images of like Bridget and that idea of like creativity through fire. Even though this is Three of Pentacles, so it's an earthy card, it's like using fire to create something. It also is making me think of Saturn straight away, that kind of like Saturn energy, because Saturn likes to build, to create. So like Three of Pentacles just feels very kind of Saturn, especially in this deck. And it's creating three torques, three like necklaces that go around here, and that is again linking into that Inanna story, I feel like, where it's like when we take off the things that kind of give us our status, our power, that's when we kind of do the work of getting to the truth of ourselves, the kind of raw truth of ourselves. Yeah, but it's also got this like work feel to it, the Three of Pentacles. It's normally about, like in lots of decks, the Three of Pentacles has got that energy of collaboration as well, because three is a number that that is when we start to kind of create, and we create with other people. We start to have like a product from our creation, whereas like the aces and twos are more like before that stuff has happened. So, but this, in this card, we haven't got that. We've just got like a solo worker. Although the way that he's kind of looking, although they all do that, they look, what's the name of the artist? Julia Jeffrey. She's got another deck as well, because she's a Scottish artist, and she does a really, really beautiful artwork. And then we've got a major. So we have got 7, which is the fairy stallion. And you might know already that the 7th card is the Chariot, and that is the card which is linked with Cancer. So, you know, we've got that idea of the Cancer, the Mars in Cancer, that kind of driving forward energy. We've also got that kind of like hard work energy, which is what Venus is going to be doing so I feel like this is kind of representing that whole that trine that we were talking about. I feel like each card has come here with that trine. So we've got that, the hard work aspect, doing the difficult work. And we've also got the kind of more Saturn practical, supportive energy. Like maybe that he is crafting new accessories for Inanna when she comes back up to the surface from the great below. And then we've also got this kind of jubilant like Mars in Cancer. Like if we're thinking about that in terms of like bravery, like charging ahead, sometimes in the Chariot card it is kind of stationary, but this one does not look stationary. It looks like she's like, yes, let's go, you know, charge. And so I feel like and I love that it's like a kind of female, although they are very like ambivalent, the characters in this deck, but it does look to me like it's to be more female energy, kind of driving this forward. So it's bringing that kind of like Mars in that female realm of Cancer. I hate it so much, but like it's also useful in a way. Like we do think of the signs as having polarity, so that some signs are male and some signs are female. So, and it's basically like every other sign as you go through. So Yeah, like we think of Mars obviously as having like a male polarity, and then being in the Cancer female polarity sign. There's like this kind of mismatch, but I like this card seems to be really bringing those two things together, which is another interpretation of the chariot usually, because like on the right away it's we've got like the two horses, we've got the black and the white horse, and like they kind of want to go off in different directions, but the power in the chariot card is like bringing the opposing forces together to be able to steer your course, you know. So I think that's a really interesting card for us to come up. It says my card of the year. Yeah, so great, that works out well. Let's have a little look at what Barbara Moore says about these cards. 10 of Wands. Oh, it feels so fragile. I'll show you the card while I'm reading it. It feels so fragile, even to his gentle hand. He holds it carefully, imagining a tiny phoenix within, growing in strength, but not yet ready to be born. So it is an egg. The egg trembles slightly against his palm, moving the treasure near his heart. He stills himself and quiets his breathing until he feels the beating life in the egg match that of his own. When will he feel confident? When will he not worry about damaging the gift he has been given? Even after careful preparation, making himself ready with paint and beads and meditation, he worries. Yet this is what he wanted. This is his life. Yeah. So these are the questions that like we'll be finding our confidence, we'll be finding our connection to the things that are true for us, that are meaningful to us as we do this Venus and Scorpio underworld journey. The thumping in the egg grows stronger and steadier. His own rises to meet it. With each chorus of the thump, the thump, the thump, his courage increases. He presses the egg more closely to his chest until he can feel the immeasurable energy and infinite potential within. Only thin shells, the eggs and his own, separate him from it. Although still somewhat uncertain, his desire overcomes and he hesitates no longer. In between one the thump and the next, he and the egg merge. The content of the egg moves through shell and skin to meld with his heart. He and the phoenix are one. And now anything is possible. My gosh, that gave me goosebumps. So it's like, it is that merge of, it's just so powerful. Like if we can do that, if we can trust, like put the work in, like he put the work in, he'd been doing this meditation, he'd got himself ready, you know, then we can step into that next phase for us now as well. She said the divinatory meaning, the intense energy and power of the 10 of Wands can feel like a burden. How can you possibly wield all that potential? Oh my gosh, I love that so much. It's like, it's the burden of like, it's like that Tony Robbins quote, isn't it? It's like, don't die with your story still inside. And that is what this month is giving us the opportunity to do. We are able to open up ourselves and gain that confidence that is going to motivate us forward and be able to do the things that we're here to do in the world. But the only way that we can do that is if we are able to trust, I suppose, really. Like that's what he did, didn't he? He was brave, he prepared, he trusted. Oh, somebody's ringing the doorbell, but hopefully that somebody else will answer that. And then we can merge in with that phoenix and we can become like the reborn version of ourselves. You know, like I said, that like there is like a death that is going to happen in this month if we do the work. If we go into that center of the labyrinth, then we will do that death work and then we can do the rebuild work. Yeah. Phoenix is a Scorpio symbol too, so interesting. Yes, that's such a good point, Siren, as well. Yeah. Tempest says, me being called out with my lifelong stalker card and the keyword of potential, which is my full moon card. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. So it's not a burden. Our potential is not a burden, although it can feel like that. Like it's only a burden if we don't fulfill it, isn't it? You know? And so we're getting that opportunity to fulfill it now. Let's have a little look at the Three of Pentacles. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Like, do you mind me reading them like this? I just really like to do that. Like I give my own interpretation of the cards and I like to also see what it says as well. The workshop is small, with every space being used to the best advantage. It's also very warm. Too warm, some might think, to work comfortably in. Being so focused on his work, he barely notices. Ooh. He loves the weight of metal in his hands. Even though it is so heavy, so solid, so very tangible, he can feel the life within it. This material that was once so close to the very core of the earth. People come to him to request items of both beauty and practicality. As they describe their desires, he closes his eyes and loses himself in the dark. Then, from the emptiness, a vision emerges as their words begin to create shapes in his mind. He selects his materials carefully, finding the perfect substance to transform. This is so Saturn. It's literally like creating people's visions out of the raw material. The shape of his vision flows through his hands, which work the metal gently, releasing the art hidden inside. The idea, the raw material, and his skill come together, creating something magical. Sorry, I can see the... Liz said, who said the quote about the dying with your stories inside? So I think it's Tony Robbins. I think it's Anthony Robbins who said that, don't die with your stories still inside. Although I have heard, I think Audre Lorde also said something very similar. Maybe says oh, okay. Yes, you can always turn off if you don't want to hear them, can't you? So that is good. This card celebrates the urge and practicality and ability to create, to make, to do it yourself. The Three of Pentacles lets you know that you have the ability, the vision, and the materials necessary to create something of value. Oh yeah. So that ties in so beautifully with that message of like the burden of our potential. Like we have that potential, we also have the resources. Cycles are a theme with the threes, along with creativity. In this card, it means that you may have to practice a bit before you achieve the results you desire. And that's what the second part of October is going to be about. It's going to be like, oh, I've just discovered that this is the actual core of what I desire, of who I am. And now I need to like do the things, but like maybe we don't have the skills yet. So we practice. Your creation exists inside you. Hone your skills, pick up the perfect resources, and be amazed at what manifests. Yeah, I love it. Three of Pentacles is Mars in Capricorn, so the Saturn themes make so much sense. Yeah, because Mars is exalted in Saturn's sign of Capricorn. Yeah, lovely. Read all the things. Thank you. Yeah, I'll take a photograph of these as well, and I will put them into the Discord as well. I'll put it in our divination channel and Discord so that we've got these going forward. And let's have a look at what she says for the Fairy Stallion. That Chariot card. Okay, so she starts off with a contrast. Dark hair and white mane fly wildly in the wind as they cut together through the warm air. So it's warm in this card as well. Over open fields and through the forest, they move smoothly as one, a perfect picture of graceful speed. Their elegant movement belies their efforts, blood pulsing through their veins, which is Mars ruled, blood. The breath coursing in and out of their lungs fuels their movement. Muscles contract and release. She, overcome with joyful energy, reaches up as if to touch the sun, holding the silky blue reins only lightly. So I feel like that's also bringing in that feeding your sun energy as well, like that joy. Like what is it that brings you joy? Like she obviously gains her joy from this galloping across the open fields. It's like, oh, this feeds me. This feeds my joy. They have run like this many times to achieve this beautiful skill and abandon. So that idea of practice, again, is coming forward, isn't it? We need to practice. We can't expect to be able to do these things already because they're new to us. You know, we need to give ourselves chance to, yes, we hold that egg of potential. That is something that is within us. But we can't just necessarily have the skill straight away. We're going to need to practice to do it. So let's be kind to ourselves while we are learning, while we are doing that. They know each other's movements and can anticipate one another's actions, tethered together by a wisp of fabric. But more than rains and experience connect them. Their favoured shade of blue, the colour of peace and healing, honours that inexplicable binding that is as invisible to onlookers as their muscles, their breath, and their blood. And that's what happens, isn't it? Is when something has been practiced, it becomes like it looks effortless. And yet there is a lot of effort. There's a lot of like craft. Like this guy couldn't just do that from the beginning. There needed to be that effort, that craft that came in place first before he could just like, oh, just tune into the metal and turn out exactly the thing that you're looking for. There's the idea of crafting something is definitely coming forward through these cards. Practice and craft. That's a good keyword actually, I think, for October. Craft. So like going into the depths and discovering our craft and then honing it, then practicing it. They're connected by spirit and unified in will, of one mind and one purpose. They know where they are headed and know the best, which may not always be the shortest, route to get there. Getting there is not the goal. The ride is everything, and they ride so very well together. So yeah, it's our journey, isn't it? It's our journey which is important, not the destination. I mean, that's such a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. Traditionally known as the Chariot, card 7 of the Major Arcana, marks a certain level of achievement and independence. In this card, the stallion, like the chariot in other cards, is a metaphor for your own power and determination. The ability to ride so apparently effortlessly bespeaks control and skill. More importantly, it also marks a confidence that comes of certainty. If cards 1 through 6 illustrate early life lessons and preparation, the stallion tells you that it is time to move. You've considered the options, made the plans, and finalized decisions. Now go forward. It is time to grab the brass ring. This card reminds you to head in the right direction, but more importantly, to enjoy the ride. Yeah, it's also with like that transition card. I love that she brought that up. Like when we think of the Major Arcana as being in like 3 rows, then the Chariot is the first card in that second row. So it shows an evolution for us as well. And that also could be a keyword as well, like an evolution, a revolution, a revelation perhaps. You know, like we need to go into the labyrinth and meet ourselves there, meet our dark sister there, and then wind ourselves back out, renewed, ready to start this next chapter of what it is that we're going on now. Yeah. So we have been pretty much exactly an hour. Thank you so much to all of you. I appreciate you so much being here. It just makes me feel like I'm not like just chatting into the ether, you know. So it's lovely to hear what you've got, you know, what you're thinking about what was going on. I'll take a photograph of the cards and I'll share them in the Discord. I may not do that straight away though, because like I said, we need to zoom off to go to the ice hockey, which should be really good fun. I'll let you know if you're in the Discord. I'll let you know how that went later on. Thank you so much for watching. Warmest lessons. What am I saying? Warmest blessings. And I will see you very soon.